Fun times.
So are we hot right now?
We are hot, yeah.
We're hot?
You're hot. I just want to throw that out there. No, that's just... But you already knew that. No, like not being weird or anything.
That's how my wife describes me as a hot piece.
I feel like you're both really hot.
Wow. Okay,
And
someone clip that.
I mean that very intentionally.
So we absolutely need Plant. If you're there, clip that and then use that as a soundbite against her.
I love how her assistants like, do not talk over the intro. Amanda, I'm talking to you. Don't do it.
So I am gonna give us a few like a 2-minute warning and say, hey, by the way, we need to be quiet. We're gonna actually do intro and then we'll go from there.
Sweet.
Because we have a video intro that we worked very hard on. It took us half an hour to film that stupid thing.
Nice.
And we're gonna have to change it because I no longer work there.
Yeah. Damn it. We'll change. Well, like give us some time and I'll change it eventually. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, once I figure out what I want to do, then.
And after you're done buying your stupid house.
I hate it.
I mean, you know, buying a house is very stressful. It's also
Honestly,
I can't wait till I'm 60 and I can afford a house.
right? Dude, well, first off, I bought a condo. I live in Los Angeles, the city of expensive places. So I bought a condo. What the fuck? Where does that go? I bought a condo and I'm, a single woman, more or less, single in the sense I'm not married, and I'm meeting these contractors at my condo by myself. And so they're like, oh, single woman who bought a condo in a nice area. Like, let's take advantage. I'm telling you, I was quoted $150,000 to redo a kitchen and a bathroom, not full demo, redo a kitchen and a bathroom, plus like little touch-ups to the closet and paint the whole place for $150,000. Like,
you got what?
That's how you bought. That would buy you a above mid-range home in my hometown of Hutchinson, Minnesota. Like, you spent $150,000 on a house?
I think my boyfriend is listening since he's one of our mods. He's from Minnesota somewhere.
Timbot.
Somewhere.
Timbot, where are you from, babe?
How about them twins?
He's Minneapolis.
How far is that from where you just said?
It's about 70 minutes west. I went to school downtown Minneapolis. I actually went to the college where George Floyd's like a memorial service was at. So
we're buying a house, Plant. That's what we're buying.
Yeah. Okay.
My house cost. Shut up, Plant. I don't want to hear it. $80,000 in bullshit. Whatever.
I'm in Silicon Valley right now.
Oh God.
It is not. Our first apartment here was $4,100 a month.
Ouch.
For a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, 850 square feet.
Wait, where?
Silicon Valley.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I pay $3,500, 1 bedroom, nice area in LA. Decent. I wouldn't even call it nice. Decent
All right, Amanda,
area in LA.
Amanda, I'm told to tell you to shut up.
I'll hold my breath.
Yeah, please do. Hello and welcome to the Next Level Talk Show. I am your host Torben, along with my co-host Amanda. If this is your first time here on the Next Level, we are an education-based talk show helping influencers, industry professionals, and fans understand how the industry looks and evaluates data. We're based on education, evaluation, and analytics. That is the goal of our show and the focus that we have.
I love it. Thanks so much, Torben. And a huge shout out to our sponsors, Blue Microphone. They are the absolute top of the line, best in class audio equipment. You can see Torben and I here have our handy dandy booms and our mics, as well as Shot Call, which is a platform that helps creators link up with their community as well as monetize.
Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing? I transitioned to the wrong screen. There, look at that. Wow. Hey, don't even look at that. There's no one there. There's no one there. Nothing happened. You saw nothing. Saw nothing. Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing today? Yeah, I accidentally may have clicked on the wrong button, but you didn't see it, so it's okay. It never happened. Yeah, you know.
And I muted the entire time, so I didn't
you
speak.
did.
So.
You did. I am so incredibly proud of you.
Thank
It's
you.
not even funny. Amanda, thank you so much for muting so that we can actually get through that intro. I had to restrain myself as well.
I
want to
respect
talk.
that. I'd like to thank my mother for the opportunity
I'd like
to be here for this award.
I'd like to thank Blue Microphone for the ability to continue to, you know, have this microphone on our I have to use it at least once a session.
I respect that. I know
Yeah.
the stickers are close by, and we put it there for a reason.
I mean, it's right next. Yeah, it is. Anyways, all right. So today, Amanda, we have a phenomenal, wonderful friend of mine who I'm fortunate enough to call friend first and foremost, who is joining us on the show. His name is Kickedtripod, or John. If some people know him, he actually used to work for GoXLR, but now he is on a new venture, and I'm excited about what's happening with him and where he's going, and I cannot wait to see what he's gonna do next, because the man's phenomenal. So let's just bring him in now. John, how are you doing, buddy?
Hi. Thanks for having me. I'm a ton of fun. Thank you for I'm a ton of fun. I'm excited for a ton of fun. I am a ton of fun. And yeah, there's good things coming. Thanks for the intro.
Yeah, man, I'm super excited to have you here and on the show with us. You know, to give a little bit of background, I'd love to hear a little bit more about who you are, what you've done, and then what you do. And part of the reason why we brought you on the show is because you run your own talk show as well, and that is just phenomenal and just one small piece of all of the rest of the amazing things you do.
Yeah. Oh man. I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. About 7 years ago, I wanted to start a podcast. Didn't know how. Knew nothing about audio. I was a musician, but like I didn't know anything about recording audio. Started a podcast. Well, I didn't start a podcast, but I set a goal to, and ended up actually applying to be a host in a podcast called Well Met, which ended up growing and doing fairly well for itself. We branched off other shows. And kind of allowed me to go to TwitchCon to speak on a panel about podcasting on Twitch, because I think Twitch is an amazing platform for podcasting, and still I think really underutilized. And then I met Craig, my former boss, who's now again my current boss, I guess. And we helped launch and design the GoXLR and some other really cool products together. And then I'm now doing a show called Tactical Crouch, which is a competitive Overwatch podcast, and Spike Drop, which is a competitive Valorant podcast, where we, you know, I've got a couple of co-hosts, Yiska and Volamel, who are amazing. They're like some of the biggest brains in those two esports. They're so smart, and so I'm very fortunate to be able to kind of guide those conversations and try to bring what I can to the production value side of things, and then you know, help elevate their platforms as just really smart guys, excellent communicators. And so yeah, it's been a long, crazy journey. I've done everything from graphic design, video editing, photo editing, After Effects work, community management, social media management. It's all I think it's all been done at length at one point or another.
I mean,
I don't mean to interrupt, but I did redeem a hair flip.
What? Oh, you did.
I redeemed a hair flip, and I'm owed a hair flip not only from myself, but from our lovely guest here. Do I go first, Torben? How did you imagine this?
You know,
like happening.
So to kind of give everyone an idea, we now have channel points, so you can redeem random things that happen because we added them all in. So I would say just do it at the same time. Honestly, now it's literally, you know, Amanda plus the guest hair flip. So like, I'll count you down. How about that?
Oh, I just counted us down,
What?
and then you.
That counts.
Did you know what?
That counts. I was there. That counts.
We were there. Someone else has to redeem a hair flip in order to see it actually timed by Torben and executed by us. So we'll just throw that into the universe. Have fun.
You know,
okay.
Save up 500 points, and then we might get there. We'll see.
Somehow I already had 500 points. I'm confused.
I'm confused too, but maybe it's just because you're in the channel so much. Who knows? All right, back to what we were talking about, though. Thanks for, completely derailing.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I know you like it. So John, typically what we do on the show is we evaluate content creators. That's, it's our way of giving back and helping to support the different people out there and helping to show them the different stuff. You had mentioned previous to us jumping on here that a lot of the things that you're doing wrong potentially, and so I would actually love to go through a little bit of that with you and understand where you feel like some of your shortcomings are when it comes to the content and how you guys are producing on the show, because you're like you said, you're a multiverse person. You've done social media, you've done, video editing, you've done the YouTube, you've built all this stuff up. So you have a completely unique perspective than most of the people we have on the show in general. So I would like to dive into that a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I will kind of preface it with saying like my own like self knowledge is fallible. So like some people will be like, I think you're awesome at that. And I see it as, kind of like a potential area of opportunity. But it's really interesting. I definitely have a lot. I am definitely my harshest critic to a fault. It drives Katie nuts. I did a review. Elgato is really nice. And they sent me a product to review, and I shot it 7 times over a weekend, like 2 hours every time to record the VO, and I sit down and start editing, and I'm like, oh, I hate this, and I go back, I rewrite the script, and I go do it again. And so I definitely consider myself as someone who's, I'm not a perfectionist. I'm not. Like, there's somebody like, I'm a perfectionist. I'm like, I'm not a perfectionist, but I know when I don't like something about my content. And I know when I'm like not happy about with what I'm going to put out, and it doesn't meet that standard.
I feel that.
It's not perfection. Like I think perfectionists are liars when it comes to their content, because like it's too difficult, or you can't be I don't think efficient enough unless you have a full team allows you to execute perfection every time, especially if you're on a time schedule. So
well, and what I've found too is that when you get to that level of content creator who can afford full editing staff, full social media staff, you get to a point where the quality is so high, you are no longer an organic content creator. So we actually had OJ Gaming on, who's one of the largest Brawl Stars Supercell content creators out there. And he kind of talked about something called like shitty good, because his production is such high quality. In order to still bring across authenticity, he actually has to kind of take it down a notch to make it seem like he took his phone out and was filming it like this, even though he has a full production and editing crew.
Absolutely. 100% down with that. I think that's totally a thing.
Yeah.
And
that's awesome. I feel that because Torben and I recently recorded our intro, and I was like, I can't even come up with a term other than I was just like, nope, again. Torben's the same thing. He's like, shit. And we were like, he would mess up, I would mess up. And like, it was just, we wanted to get to this point of like perfection. We were like, no, that like, we don't need to get there because that's not us. If it was perfect, people would be like, wait, how much did you spend on this? That's not you. So I think there's definitely that point where it's like, we're hard on ourselves. We want it to be perfect, but that's also why people want to work with us, because they like what you're already bringing, not like, oh, he has the potential to do movie quality. Like, no, we like what he's doing now.
Right. Yeah. I think, and when I think that there's like, for me, I honestly, I think I use production value and production quality as kind of a crutch I have found for myself, in the sense that I love Overwatch. I love Valorant. My wife and I, Katie, we want to do a podcast together called John and Katie Ruin Everything, where we just like take topics where we don't know enough to actually speak about them authoritatively and then talk about them every week. Like the Marvel universe, like it's going to piss every comic nerd off, because like, we're like, yeah, we like the comics a little bit. We know enough to like be dangerous and hold a conversation with those people. But at the same time, it's like, but at the end of the day, we just like the movies kind of thing. And we want to do that. And, but for me, I've always kind of used the production value as kind of a crutch. Is the more time I can spend on the things that I know I'm good at, the less time I have to spend being an excellent Overwatch analyst or an excellent, watch every single Valorant match that I probably should. And so, that's one of the biggest things that I've noticed. And I've even had to like rebalancing myself is how do I become an effective contributor to my shows and the shows that I'm on versus how do I make the shows look and sound as amazing as I want, and when am I not hitting that right balance?
Mm-hmm.
That totally makes sense. So I know we want to talk about some of your socials, and I'd like to do that. Can we do that, Torben?
I mean, we can. Like,
I'm on his Twitter. I'm already lost because I see the Peloton and I am so jealous. How long have you had your
Today,
Peloton?
this morning, it
Bro,
arrived.
for real?
For real.
Oh my
I'm
God.
gonna go for a ride right after this. I'm gonna just ride.
Oh my God. Dude, I'm so excited for you. Like, so excited for you.
We're really excited. We're fortunate. Katie's cousin works at Peloton, and their employee, like, friends and family discounts are insane.
So are
Like,
we
went to
now friends and family? Like you and I,
You
are
know-
we friends and family?
Wow,
I
you
need to
got
know
so
this
nice
right
to
now.
me so quick. It's weird. You got so nice to me so quick. It's
When I jumped
Yeah.
on the Zoom, I was like, God damn it, motherfucker. Like
he's like, so
I was like, so that Peloton, dude, that's amazing. So are you guys, kind of side noting from your content,
Mhm.
are you guys like spin people? Like, do you cycle or is it just
Katie is and loves it. I am a CrossFit person, which
Oh,
how do you know that
bro.
somebody is a CrossFit person?
they
They'll
talk
tell you
about it. Dude,
Yeah.
I did CrossFit for like 4 years. I couldn't shut the fuck up about it.
I love it. I have an awesome. We live in our building downstairs is our CrossFit gym, and so like it's every day. So like the biggest thing is that I in my quest for content creation, I created this my home. I hibernated in this for about 5 years. I went from like a 3-sport athlete to like this. So we started doing CrossFit last year, and I absolutely loved it. But I love food a lot, and so I'm just like I'm short on my calorie goals. Katie loves spin. I would say she's a
Aw.
spinner. She's doing CrossFit with me now. She started mid last year, and she loves it, and she's killing it. But I'm like, I just need to like shave off like another 300, 400 calories whenever I can. And I'm like, oh, we'll just
Dude, that bike will do it. Hands
bike will
down.
do it. I went to one Soul Cycle class, and it was an experience that I want to only experience in my bedroom. How do we rephrase that, Torben?
It's like painful butt stuff a little bit. I go to Soul Cycle and it feels like
also for the bedroom.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is
Soul
that
Cycle's a thing.
inappropriate? Am I gonna get you in
I
trouble
think
with
we're
the,
No.
okay.
the
I
the
don't actually
sponsors? I heard
belong.
a couple F-bombs in here and
No.
stuff, so I figured we're
No.
good to be a little
I
dirty.
mean, we can basically say
Let's
whatever
talk
we
about-
want,
this is
really.
actually-
We don't want it. So
Um,
my thing is no racism, no homophobia, no transphobia, all that
Oh,
good
common
shit.
sense. Got it.
Yeah, common sense.
Some common sense
Otherwise,
here.
we can talk about all your bedroom butt stuff on a spin bike, man. Like, I'm about it. I'm here for it because I'm in the same boat. Same boat. But yeah, Soul Cycle
clip
is.
that.
Yeah, Soul Cycle is a special. So I used to go to another spin studio that was way easier. I went to Soul Cycle. I thought I was going to die, and I thought I was like, dude, I'm in like really good shape. Like, I'm not like thin in good shape, but like, dude, I got fucking muscles for days, and like, I died on that spin bike for 45 minutes.
It's a totally different type of
Yeah.
thing. It's
Yeah.
I have an elliptical. I don't have a Peloton, but I have the equivalent of the elliptical Peloton.
I love
I love it.
ellipticals.
I do.
I used to. That's how I watched all of Naruto Shippuden. It was on an elliptical a couple years ago.
Oh, geez, that's
It's a lot of
insane.
eppies. It's a lot of eppies. But it is. I loved the elliptical. I think it's still that is my cardio of choice right there. Easy on the knees, nice and glide.
Okay, Boomer.
Wow.
Let's go to
Okay.
Twitter.
All right. Well, let's
go to Twitter. This
let's
is
go back to-
embarrassing for you.
Wow.
Okay.
All right. So this is the Peloton they were talking about, guys, just for everyone's reference.
I don't think if I have anything bad on there. No, I'm good.
What do you mean bad on there? This is a public place.
That's true. Yeah, you're right.
This is not. This
To
is
be
not your
honest, I didn't- we
Dropbox,
were
my
looking
dear. This
through it.
is Twitter.
It is not the most like. If I were executing a social media plan, my social media would not be it. But
Okay. I see this.
Now, why is that?
That's a good question.
so I run individual social media pieces for the individual shows themselves, so they have their own social media channels.
Okay.
I also, in my experience, I have found that in smaller to medium sized channels and stuff, I think that I tend to overemphasize. Sorry, the nobody the song "Friend Like Me" from Aladdin just came on in my headphones.
Are you okay?
Completely.
I feel like you were almost having
Will
like a
Smith
seizure or
version,
something.
The Will Smith. I was just like, and I couldn't all of a sudden. I'm like, you ain't never had a friend like me, and I could not actually finish my thoughts. I couldn't.
I
do
love
it.
that movie, man. I love that freaking movie.
So,
Dude,
anyways,
do we have any analytics, Torben?
I mean, for this, I just wanted more to talk to John about, what
Just
he's
like
doing
surface
today.
level.
Yeah,
Okay,
surface level
okay,
stuff,
that's
because
okay.
he
I'm cool
runs,
with it.
a couple different things. And so
Mhm.
I wanted to look at his overall presence, where he thinks he's lacking, because as I said before, he's an industry expert with this stuff because he does analysis of influencers just like we do. So he's
For
going to be a
sure.
harsher critic on himself than anything that we can say or do.
Yeah.
And so that's why I don't really want to go down that route. I just want to kind of understand what he does currently and how, so he was getting into how he actually has different channels for the different things and explaining that. So if you want to continue that thought, I'd love to hear why you have them separated and what you do there.
Yeah, well, I've found that the communities for the shows are very passionate about those just Overwatch or just Valorant. They aren't. My shows are not as person or host heavy as far as the draw as maybe some other shows were. Some things that are a little bit more casual, but we're a little bit more competitively focused. So I think that we understand correctly that using only our personals for this can kind of be, it kind of deludes who's following us for us and who's following us for this show and who's following us for that show. And of course we retweet from those and quote tweet from our personal accounts, but it kind of helps keep things in their neat columns of like, this is John the Valorant host, this is John the Overwatch host, this is just John the Peloton riding cross-fitting son of a gun.
Yeah.
That that is just kind of being a dumb idiot on Twitter. And I don't really have huge expectations or even goals for my own personal growth on Twitter. But I think it's largely because so much of that I spend in the brands that I consult for and the brands that I've ran in the past. And those are the important things for me, and people will follow me for me.
So do you feel like in some senses your personal social media is a hindrance or a benefit to the shows that you're running?
I don't think that they hurt the shows in any way. I wouldn't put them as a tangible benefit as much more as like a cherry on top, a little bit of extra reach, a little bit more. It helps. I mean, the people who follow my, I have 3,000 followers on Twitter. That's not a huge amount by any means, but it's also not a small amount. If I'm approaching a brand and I show you my show stats, my personal Twitter stats, I get kind of punched into the not huge, but not worth throwing money at, if that's what we're looking for, if that makes sense. It's not a disqualifier. So I think it helps, but it's not like a core pillar of strategy.
I mean, and the reason why I'm asking that is because we've talked to several different people that have multiple different channels, right? And so some people think that having their own personal actually hurts them and they should have a separate brand from that. And so they have multiple different accounts, right? So because of that, it's kind of like, what, is it helping? Is it hurting? What's the perception for you? Because everyone thinks differently. So if it's the cherry on the top, that's awesome, right? And then that's definitely something that you can, continue to utilize because it helps build stuff out.
Yeah, it's and it's really interesting. I think that there's it also, like, the larger you get, the more important and less, like, there's these different stages of like optimizing your growth and reach.
Yep.
And the larger you get, the kind of more benefit, the more you have people, unless you are really good at positioning yourself in a way that is so universal. Like, I think of somebody like Tim the Tatman. Tim the Tatman is the most universal creator that I can think of on the planet right now.
Mhm.
I don't know why, but he's just like somebody who's like, no matter what your feelings are, when you see Tim and his content, you appreciate it, you understand it, you get who he is. There's a lot of people though, like what would be a good example? I don't have one off the top of my head, but there are example of people who need they're a little bit more project based. I think of like somebody like Scott Johnson is a great example as somebody who's an amazing podcaster, one of my first like people I looked up to in content creation.
Yeah.
But they very much segment out how they communicate. They communicate for their personal, they communicate for politics, they communicate for their overall podcast studio, they communicate for their individual podcasts themselves, and they have a much more regimented social media outlook. And I think that for some people that does make sense. The people who lose the most from that are the people who want to follow Scott for Scott and only Scott. But again, as long as Scott's like retweeting his own stuff from those other channels and the important things, you're still always up to date. And with so much of that cross pollination, especially with quote tweeting, quote retweeting, or yeah, that's the right word, right?
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Retweeting with comments. I don't know. They always change the name on it. That's changed the game a lot too, with like how you engage and kind of spread followers across your audiences.
That's awesome. So question for you, since it seems like, you really do all this for yourself, how do you go about pitching companies for your brand? You have so many. I know it's a loaded question. People ask me this question. I'm like, oh, let me write a book. But like, what do you say is like a general rule of thumb? Like, how do you go about it? What do you do? How do you position yourself?
Yeah, I think the first thing is understanding if you're a buyer or a seller. And essentially, if you're a seller, you're somebody like Tim, Shroud, whoever else. Like, they probably don't even have to shop anymore. They just look at their email every morning and there's 80 offers from their agent telling them what to do. But somebody who's like, I'm a large established brand, but I'm not so large that I haven't outsourced somebody doing for that. But I'm a seller. You're coming to me, you're pitching me. That's not me. I'm not a seller. I'm a buyer. In other words, I want to monetize some of my shows or some of my content. You may or may not be looking. You probably have a lot of choices. I need to sell myself to you, or I guess for me, I'm making myself buyable to you. So that's kind of the first thing I do when I approach it, because that totally changes how I'm going to approach that conversation. When I am when I'm in that disadvantaged position, I always start with have a clean PDF one pager. Clean PDF, have somebody design it, go to Fiverr, have an amazing one pager with your stats and stuff. There are a minimal, even though numbers don't always matter, numbers still need to be present, right? And so at least for most, unless you have like personal relationships or otherwise. Then the next thing I do is I'll take probably about 2-3 hours for a brand that I want to work with, and I'll actually develop some sort of content plan that is personalized for them. So it's one thing, like, the easy thing to do is to like write up a thing in your iPhone notes of your pitch to yourself. You've got your numbers in there, you copy paste it, you change the name of the brands on each one, and you just send it to as many people. For me, when I was working at TC Helicon Gaming with GoXLR, we definitely sent a lot of units and partnered with a lot of the larger people who came to us because they were sellers. But the smaller, it was really interesting of like, we brought a lot of the people who were 80 to 300 concurrent viewers over the people who were 300 to 1200. We had a lot more in that smaller range because they understood their position. They positioned themselves really well, And they created a really great personalized plan for how they wanted to work with us. And it's not just a bulleted list of like, I want to put you on a banner on my stream, and I'll put you down in a thing in my chat, and I'll send out a tweet once or twice a week. I will do this. I will, like, instead it's just like, you know, the thing I really love about the Go XLR is the voice effects. And what I would like to do is I want to do a little YouTube series about showing off the voice effects in this way. I could do 4 a month on top of, you know, those other things. So that's usually how I approach it. I try to create put the conversation in a way that even if they say no to me, I can still have a relationship with that company moving forward. So finding out, is there a way that I can stay in touch with you guys? Like, do you have your own social media that I could follow or stay in touch in? Or like asking for critique, like, you know, what am I missing from my pitch? I think is sometimes okay, as long as you're not defensive about it. I've got some horror stories at TC Helicon of people who got really defensive about our justification for not partnering with people, and that'll just blacklist you outright. Every community manager I now talk to would be like, dude, look how this person look how this person reacted to that. Be careful with them.
So I have another question for you kind of on that. I feel like every content creator who's done outreach for themselves and for their brand have like their proudest moment. Do you have like a proudest pitch and like win moment where you're just like, oh my God, I worked so hard on that and I fucking nailed it?
Like specifically around sponsorships?
Specifically around anything. Like we're talking about pitches. So however you'd like to categorize that.
I think the most proud I was my there's one I can't talk about that one yet. The other one would probably be when I pitched a panel to TwitchCon and then ended up getting Total Biscuit to agree to come onto the panel. He was really passionate about it.
That's awesome.
It was podcasting on Twitch, so I moderated that with Total Biscuit and Chan Man and myself.
How did you pitch that? How did you do that? Like, how was that acquired from your skills?
Tin Cup, please, will you come to my panel,
poor.
please? No, a lot of the same things. It's just like, you know, I very much personalize, like, here's specifically, John, why I want you on this panel and why I think your voice would be so important. He was friends with Chan Man Chris at the time, so there was an existing relationship there that I could leverage is the wrong word, but it was, you know,
you could lean on that as like credibility.
It was a nice handshake, right? It wasn't a cold message of like, hey, I got approved for a panel. Do you want to come on? I am emailing the top 100 streamers on Twitch to come on.
Right.
Instead, it was very specifically like, this is the expertise. This is what I've seen you there. This is how I want to frame the conversation. And I think with the success of that, I realized that when you are able to personalize and really understand your audience, you are able to, I think that you are able to do really well, and you'll have a lot more success. There's a streamer that I always talk about. I hope he doesn't mind. I didn't ask him ahead of time. Captain Richard. Richard on Twitch, and he had hands down the best outreach ever. And he's not like a huge streamer by any means, but he's not a small streamer either. But he's got amazing tier 1 sponsors, and I took a lot of what he did before I really kind of understood what I was doing, quote unquote, right or wrong. And he was so personable. He was so interested in the brand. He was so like just willing to collaborate. It was just a joy to work with. And when you find those people who position themselves in a way to be like, look how fun I am to be around. Look how much I understand your product. Look how much I want to like know you guys as a company and like work together. It's 80% of the hurdle at that point.
So what you're saying is if you know the brand and you understand the brand, you know your value and what you have to offer, and you do your research and develop relationship with the company, you could probably get a sponsorship.
Probably, yeah.
Huh? Revolutionary.
I know. Nobody's ever thought of it.
It's just wow. I mean, you know, it's phenomenal.
It seems like such common sense. It's like one of those, things that you read in a textbook and you're like, that makes sense. Then you never do it.
Yeah. But
That's
relationship
awesome,
sells.
though. That's such a win. Like I being in a sales position, like I love that feeling of like, oh my God, I did it. I made it happen. Like I remember even though she's been on the show, AFK, she got her own 1-800 contacts sponsorship all by herself. And like,
Yeah,
I wasn't even repping her then. I was like, dude, I'm so freaking proud of you. Like, holy shit. Like, I think it's awesome because you don't like, obviously management is amazing. It's good to have managers. It's good to have, agencies, but like you can do it yourself. Like it's not impossible. You don't have to be huge to make it happen.
Yeah. And sometimes like I've said to a lot of people, like there are a lot of people we would have sponsored who poor managers got in the way of that.
Yeah.
I'm just like, if you don't know your manager through and through, you're not with like some of the best, you might not be ready for a manager. You might need a personal assistant to help you keep track of everything,
right?
Help you manage your schedule, but you don't need a manager necessarily to weed out your offers or to go out, finding for you. That works for some people, not everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I cannot tell you how many times that I've had to deal with poor managers that think that their clients are worth more than what they are.
And they position it in a way like, and that's where you got to know when you're the buyer and when you're the seller kind of thing. And this is, there's sometimes where it's just like, man, you're positioning this person, or not, man, generally colloquially.
I know what you meant.
Sorry. I'm still getting out of the vocabulary. It's really frustrating. We could do a whole episode on that because it's been one of the most frustrating like habit changes. Hey guys, what's up, man? Hey dudes. Like I'm really bad at it and I apologize. I promise I am aware of it though after I make the mistake.
I honestly think that's like an okay thing to do though, personally.
But I want to be better at it. Like I just like want to be, it's a tick now for me at least where I'm like, oh, oops. Back to
managers.
They
suck. They're terrible.
Yep.
They're awful human beings.
Managers are the worst.
We're the fucking worst.
It's when they, they've overstated or overestimated their bargaining power in a situation. They leave money on the table.
Yeah.
And, or just entire sponsorships on the table.
Or they'll lose their content creators a whole deal over a few $100s. That to me is the worst and something I personally preach as someone who runs sales and talent. I would never do that. I will, dock my percentage in order to get you a deal. I'm not losing a deal for you and myself over a few $100s. It doesn't make any sense. I don't get that.
Yeah, well, I was working with a streamer who had an offer that was like $200 lower for a shorter stream, like it was a 4-hour stream. And like last time she was offered a similar offer. She made like $1,000 and the second time was like $800. She goes, should I do it? And I'm like, first of all, I'm not your manager or anything, but as like a friend to friend, do you want to make $800 for a 4-hour stream or not? Like there is sometimes where you're like, you know what, the way I would have to restructure my stream, blah, blah, blah. I think there's too high of an opportunity cost for me. I'm not going to do it. But for most people, it's like, especially when you're talking about those margins like that, it's like at the end of the day, it's $800 and that's $800. Like, I don't know, like what else are you going to do with that stream that's going to net you more than that? Or are you going to, hurt yourself in some sort of, positioning of yourself as a content creator?
Absolutely. No. And it's totally true. Like that's the opportunity cost. Or is this, 4-hour stream worth any amount of money? Or, like, what are you, it's totally up to you. Like, do you want to make that money? If it's not worth it to you, leave it on the table. Like if it's going to damage your brand, like I sell Raid Shadow Legends on stream and in YouTube videos all the time. And it's memey. And there are ways to do it without damaging your brand, but I respect that some people feel that it can. Like I get it. $800 isn't worth damaging your brand at all. But if you know how to play with it, then hell yeah.
And that's just having your like self-awareness, right? Of like knowing who you are as a person, as a content creator, what your brand is and represents. We all like to think that we have perfect like inflection on who we are and all that stuff. And in reality, we don't. We have blind spots, and hopefully you have like a great support structure around you that will kind of help that, even if it's not has to be formal, just informal. Like, you know, I would ask Aaron and be like, you know, hey, someone approached me with this. I'm a little bit concerned about this. What do you think? And you know, usually you get some pretty good insight.
It's also interesting to note that industry people talk a lot about everyone. Don't think that we don't, because we do.
They
we hear all, we see all, we know all.
Yeah, I mean, they do a lot, and they probably talked about me.
I've not heard
I've heard some things. I've heard
I've
not heard a damn bad thing about you. I don't care what Amanda says.
I'm joking.
I could tell you I've, especially as a young community manager, man, have I made some bad mistakes.
Dude, we all do.
I haven't heard shit, man. I'm totally messing with you. All I've heard are the best things, especially from Torben.
We honestly, man, I've talked to a lot of people about you specifically, and I have not heard a damn bad word. Like, you may have made mistakes with the community, but at the end of the day, they're not holding it against you.
It's because you can't find them anymore. Can't find the bodies.
because they're dead.
we took them out back.
Talked to them in so long. Where have they been?
I don't know. They just kind of disappeared on the face of the planet. What?
Oh my goodness, I love that. No, I mean, we all do things. There are definitely things that I've said that I'm just like, well, it's out in the universe now, and some people might not like it, but it's
another
okay.
reason why I think I'm a little bit more like, I'm a little bit less focused on, it's really difficult for me personally to manage. How do I grow myself as a brand? Like, there used to be this dream of like, I want to be a big podcaster, a full-time streamer, and you know, you have to build your brand, right? And then now I'm where I'm a product and product marketing manager, where I get to design cool and awesome products. And it's all about kind of, you know, shaking hands with CEOs and companies and going behind the scenes and creating these amazing tools and meeting these streamers. But I'm not really so much focusing on that aspect anymore. And so now I have to consider there's like a fourth dimension to my social media, because it's not just about me and my content anymore. Now it's about the companies that they know I represent, regardless or not they can. Just because they can't hold it against me in court doesn't mean they still can't hold it against me. And
I mean, Twitter Me Too outing of everyone is a prime example. Many of those are not prosecutable in court, but holy shit, will that follow you everywhere?
It's career ending. Some of that stuff's career ending, honestly. And we talked about that earlier too, of like how even your outward appearance matters and how you handle yourself and what you do and what you say. Yes, as Amanda did yesterday, may or may not have tweeted from the shower. Still not sure.
I didn't. I wasn't in the shower. I knew in my head. So the last month I've been slacking on my tweets. And in my head, I always think Torben says, just do shower talk. And my brain has been empty. So I literally just wrote shower talk, and I got some people to say words, and it worked. And now people think I tweeted from the shower, but I honestly don't bring my phone in the shower unless it's for premium content. We've already talked about
premium.
this.
Wow. Okay. We're not getting into that. It's not going there. Like, take whatever that box is and chuck it out the window, because it didn't happen. Like,
I just need to say this right now. I use my phone in the shower all the time.
Wait, really? Just for fun?
Absolutely.
Like, you watch movies and stuff? Like, what's
watching King of the Hill again? So it's a great, like, I get bored. Like, showering is very therapeutic for me.
Okay, I respect that.
Standing still is not very therapeutic. So like, I'll put up a Twitch stream, or I'm like watching King of the Hill through again, or I'll even scroll through my Twitter feed.
I listen to audiobooks, so.
Audiobooks. So like, listening is like, I think the cowards using phone in the shower, but you know, you could do more than that.
I feel attacked. More than
that, Torben.
I feel attacked right now.
You gotta actually, if your hands aren't on the phone, you're not using your phone in the house.
What?
That's true.
But it gets wet then. Like, why would you want to get your phone wet while you're in the shower.
It's 2020.
Phones have
Everything's
been
waterproof.
IP5 through 7 for the past 3 years.
I'm
Torben.
on
Get
the
with it.
train of no.
I don't know
just-
what iPhone 3GS you're using right now, but
I am using an iPhone X, sir. Thank you very much.
well, it's a 10, so you should know that. It's a
I
Roman
don't
numeral.
care.
It's a Roman
Unbelievable.
numeral.
It's whatever.
You would know that if you read a fucking book.
Wow. What is this? What is this attack on
Get
me?
him,
Like
get
why?
him.
I
Why
would
are
like
we
to
jumping on the?
preface- I would like to preface that is a quote from my favorite movie, Superbad. Muhammad is a very common name
That
if you would
movie
read
is
a fucking
older.
book.
That movie is older than Torben's iPhone 3GS. That's
Is it? Are you sure? Really?
I would guess it would be. Yep,
Ooh,
iPhone 3GS
okay.
would have been like 2010.
Okay.
I don't
Okay,
have a
respect that.
3GS. Why do you
in
keep
high
on
school.
saying I have a 3GS? It's my phone's literally right here. It's not a 3GS.
3.5 inch screen. The long Apple connector. Remember those long ones?
No,
with,
I don't
all
have
the
one of
different
those.
Pins.
No.
Headphone jack. Remember
Mm-mm.
headphone jacks?
Yeah, I remember headphone jacks. I actually wish they would bring those back.
I think I was still in middle school when that switched over. I don't know.
I don't-
I was young.
Anyways, moving on. Yeah, so we're gonna ignore most of what just happened, just entirety. No, I don't have a Nokia phone. Shut up, plant.
You
You
still
jerk.
have a Motorola Razor?
No, I don't have a Motorola.
Sidekick? The
You know-
T-Mobile Sidekick?
Okay,
the
hold
one
on,
with-
hold
the one
on.
with Chevy Chase. Remember
Blackberry?
those? Yeah.
Little
Why?
Blackberry.
Why would you even want one of those? That just seems ridiculous. Like,
The keyboard.
no.
The keyboard.
Are you now making fun of my glasses? Is that what you're doing? Because I have glasses and you guys don't?
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
I
Just
have
say
glasses.
yes. No,
I-
put
I
those
just-
away. Put those away.
Glasses right here.
Hey, okay, well then I don't feel so bad. So we only have a few minutes left, and with that, do you have any final thoughts? Does anyone have any questions for John? Please
I
type
have
in
a
chat.
final thought as we wait for questions to roll in.
It's not a
How
shower
has
thought.
no one redeemed the hair flip? We've gone an entire 45 minutes
Yeah,
and
I'm actually kind
no
of
one's
shocked.
redeeming anything.
Maybe they don't have enough
Also-
points.
Also, I think I was the first person to subscribe to our show. I
Oh,
used my
yeah.
Amazon Prime sub.
Wow.
I usually use those on content creators, and I didn't realize mine had expired. So
Shameless plug.
it was available. I'm sorry, not
Wow.
sorry.
Nah, I mean, we did just hit affiliate. John, you actually recently hit partner, what, a couple months ago?
I did not hit partner.
Not
my
you,
God.
but your channel, right?
No. So we hit our past the partner goals,
Oh.
but we did not hit partner.
John, I'd like
Damn
to
it. And
thank
I
you for
don't-
your subscription to the channel.
Aw, my friend Rich just subscribed. Dude, thank you guys. Holy
And
crap.
Badass.
we actually just had a Amanda hair flip guest flip redeem, so now we have to
Oh.
do that
Oh, thanks,
Okay.
babe.
from
Okay.
Timbot. Timbot
So-
just redeemed it.
Torben is going to count down.
Yeah.
And when you say 3, we flip.
Yep.
Counting
Okay.
down to 3.
Mhm.
Yeah, it goes 1,
So 6,
2.
7,
No, I
7,
was
6,
thinking
5, 4,
17,
3,
16,
and then on 3. 5,
15.
4, 3, go.
No.
Yeah.
2,
What?
1.
Counting down.
0.
I'm gonna do a
Okay.
3
Down
count.
to 3.
Not a 16 count. I don't know where you got the 16 count from, but no. Oh, apparently I now have to make a funny face as well while
Okay.
you guys are doing this.
Hair
So
flip, and then we're ready.
and all right. So in 3, 2, and John went ahead.
Have you seen the Office cold open where they try to take the holiday picture
Of
Yeah.
course.
and they all
I've
try
seen
to
all of
jump at
them.
the same time?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let's do this. All right.
All right.
3, 2, 1. Okay, there we go. See, I made a funny face while they were doing it. There you go.
Beautiful.
We succeeded in both of them, and that's actually going to end
Okay,
our
so we actually
segment.
no, we have one
What?
question, sir.
What?
One question.
One question. Oh, okay.
Quick question. After being on the show, do you feel it will damage your brand?
That's why I said I don't have a brand to begin with.
Okay.
You know,
Okay,
it's
so
that's
the
why I
brand
don't post on
doesn't
social
exist.
media. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I respect
Yeah.
that. I respect that.
Why we
Hell
didn't,
yeah, man.
didn't look at any of it. Nope, doesn't exist. All right. Well, we are transitioning into our next segment, guys. John, we really appreciate you being on and talking with us and being here and being the awesome, phenomenal person you are. Timbot, if you could please go ahead and link him in the chat one more time for us. Everyone, go drop him a follow. Go watch his podcast if you're into Valorant or you just like him in general because he's an awesome guy. Again, really appreciate you being here. We will be back here in just a few minutes with our next guest, Dr. Kristen. So
yeah, and while you guys wait, you should just check out our cool stuff, save up your little points, make us do some weird shit. At 200,000, you can make Torben do a TikTok with me. Do you understand?
Just no. We're just not. No.
Yep.
No.
I saw you put that in there. I saw you put that in there.
We've already transitioned.
I already caught it, man. I already saw. My eyeballs are on the screen. I caught it in. I got it in.
Yeah. Muted. And we are back. Hello, everyone. We're back with our wonderful, amazing final guest of the day. Along with that, she may not be a doctor, but I'm still going to call her a doctor. Dr. Kristina is on with us. She's a mental health therapist out of California. I'll let her go a little bit more into what she does and who she is. But Kristina, thank you so much for being on with us. Really appreciate it. As you know, and as I explained, as we're bringing you on, this is our final episode of mental health for the month. And we're talking about, how mental health affects people differently. And this is what been our education piece for the month and how we're working with people and talking about. Last week, we talked about esports and how mental health affected esports teams. This week, we just want to talk about, some of the tips and tricks we can have out there to help with some of the stresses and things that are going on. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. So my name is Kristina. I am a licensed professional clinical counselor here in Los Angeles, California. I can see people all throughout California, though, as telehealth is kind of a thing right now, right? We're all doing Zoom sessions. So basically, my specializations here are I see a lot of clients with anxiety, particularly right now. You mentioned kind of COVID a little bit earlier, just that's something that we're seeing a lot of. So a lot of isolation, a lot of anxiety. And then also I do a lot with the LGBTQ plus community, as well as social media influencers.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you're familiar with just influencers in general and what they go through.
Yes.
Huh. Okay. I mean, that I didn't know. Thanks, Amanda, for giving me the heads up.
Listen, man, this is my personal friend. We don't talk about work and I don't ask specifically about clients.
As you shouldn't, because that's respected by the patient, doctor confidentiality thing. And, I appreciate people not telling my personal business to other people because we don't need that. But so, can you talk a little bit about COVID and the things that you've been seeing coming up that people are dealing with as far as like some of the mental health challenges that they're having being isolated effectively in their own homes?
So right now I'm seeing a lot of just kind of worry, right? There's a lot of uncertainty right now with COVID. So no one knows what's going to happen. And as humans, we want to know what's going to happen. We want answers. And when we don't have them, it creates a lot of uncertainty and allows many of us to kind of fill in those blanks, right? We kind of ruminate about, what if, and it just creates so much anxiety. And I'm seeing so much of that right now. Just, we're kind of all in the same boat in that case of like, I don't have any more information than anyone else does. Mm-hmm. So really it's more managing the anxiety. How do we manage that anxiety while we're living through a pandemic right now? And that's really what is key and what I focus on mostly with my clients who are coming to me with anxiety is how do we manage that? Because anxiety, we can't cure it. I think that's kind of a common misconception is that we can cure anxiety or depression. We can treat them, but we can't cure them. So really anxiety is really about managing it, not getting rid of it, not curing it, but being able to manage it.
That's interesting.
That totally makes sense. So I see a question from chat and I like that this kind of goes and ties into our show a bit and also to your background. So you talk about having specialized a bit in like social media influencers. Is that something that you consciously decided to do, or did it just kind of start happening? Were these like word of mouth referrals and it just like continued, or because we live in Los Angeles and this is a lot of the people that live here are influencers?
So that's a really good question. So initially, yes, I live in Los Angeles. So, influencers are everywhere, but actually that wasn't what kind of got me into that. My first client ever in private practice is a social media influencer. And I got really kind of, interested in what that life is like for someone who is an influencer. And I started to kind of educate myself and learn more about it. And that's really kind of, she would talk to me about things that I had no idea about. So it was actually a learning and growing opportunity for me as well as a clinician. And that's kind of how I got into that.
That's really cool. So do you, obviously, I believe you do have other clients outside of like influencers. And since we are a bit more like influencer focused, I'd be curious, what do you see as the differences of influencers versus like the average person who's an accountant 9 to 5? Like, do these people go through different stresses, especially COVID related? I would imagine most influencers are used to working from home versus not. Like, how are they handling it in a different way versus like the average person?
So the use of social media, right, is a huge difference. So, someone who may be working as an accountant 9 to 5 isn't on social media all the time, checking social media. And when you're a social media influencer, oftentimes it's about your image. So it's about portraying something to the world that may not really be so much reality. And that's where I see a lot of the difference, is kind of how reality is different for them in many ways.
So would that equate to something like imposter syndrome, that a lot of them feel like they're fake inside their social media platforms versus being real outside?
It's I wouldn't say it's fake. I would say it's more, they're very careful about what they show to the world. So they feel very, particularly the clients that I see, they feel very kind of cut off and very disconnected from people, because they have to kind of keep up with this image that may not really be truly how they feel inside, but that's how they make their money and that's their brand.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand that like you have a lot of those types of similar things with streamers, because they feel like they're not really themselves and they have to portray a character. And so even when they get off, they're not real with their communities. And that's rampant throughout the streaming community as a whole. So it's interesting that's also, something that happens with the social media people as well.
Yeah.
So I guess without like treating us, because we're not a client, we're live on a talk show, like
Yeah.
What are some tips you'd say like for those people? Because I definitely fall victim. Like I run an advertising agency, I'm online all the time, we're on a talk show, like we have a lot of social media facing things. So how would someone like me or someone in other like similar situations be able to help like mitigate those feelings?
So some things that I do recommend, especially for people who are online or kind of using social media quite often, it's okay to take a break. And that's something that I see a lot of people struggling with, is like, well, I have to be on here all the time. It's like, you can give yourself an hour, allow yourself an hour to kind of recuperate and be able to take care of yourself, instead of, maybe having some of the worries of, oh my gosh, how many people are liking my picture, or how many streams am I getting? It's really kind of that time for you to be able to unwind and take care of yourself and be away from work, right? Because when you're a social media influencer, you're constantly online. There is no separation of work and play. And that's something that, as a clinician, and most clinicians really stress, is there has to be a separation between work and play. It can't all be work. It can't all be play. There has to be some type of balance.
Interesting. How do you suggest going free therapy? How do you suggest making that boundary? I'm very curious. Someone like me, for example, I grab my phone the moment I wake up. Is it for work? Is it for fun? It's always for work. And then it's fun. So what do you suggest to someone that's in that situation, that how do you separate that? Because there's so many people who watch the show, whether they're live right now or watch the saved clip, that fall into that same category. How do you make that separation when you're laying in bed at night with your significant other? How do you turn it off? How do you compartmentalize?
So there's been kind of a lot of research recently done about this, that, shutting your phone off or kind of placing it away from you 2 hours before bed, because of the blue light, and it kind of keeps your brain activated. There's also a lot of things that go on in your brain when you're constantly on social media and using the internet and things like that. So being able to kind of unplug is hard for some people. So what I recommend, and what I focus on with my clients in particular, is, kind of setting a goal of like, okay, this week I'm going to take 5 minutes, right? 5 minutes, just 5 minutes off my phone. All right, cool. You're able to accomplish that in a week. And it's all about attainable goals. So maybe you can get to that 1 hour that you need for yourself, but we don't want to set unrealistic goals for you of being just spend an entire day away from streaming, away from your phone. That's totally unrealistic, and is actually going to make you feel worse. So it's about kind of just baby steps and progress. So I recently actually had a client come to me about, he was on his phone every morning reading the news, and the news is really depressing, right? And he was like, I feel a lot of dread throughout the day. I feel really crappy. And yeah, you're reading, the first thing you do when you wake up is you're just scrolling. And even if you don't consciously know it, your brain is getting all of those messages regardless of what you feel like you're paying attention or not.
That's intense.
I did not think about that. That's
Same
interesting.
here, honestly.
It's interesting because my therapist actually gave me similar advice, right? And one thing that I want to do is I want to start getting healthier and working out and stuff like that. So she's like, all right, here's what I want you to do. I want you to start going on a walk every morning, right? Or I want you to start doing one sit up or one push up, and that's what you do, and you just start working from there, and just small goals that you can achieve constantly. So it's nice to hear that that's pretty much a resonating thing throughout the field that you work in, that hey, set attainable goals that are realistic to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Having attainable goals, because oftentimes if you have a goal that's maybe too big or that's not where you're at, it's gonna, it feels like you took 10 steps backwards. So having those, it actually also boosts your confidence, right? When you are able to be like, yeah, I was able to go for a walk every morning. Now I can maybe go for 2 walks a day. It gives you kind of that boost of confidence to be like, I can do this, as opposed to when you first start, it feels almost like it's too big or too overwhelming to tackle.
Yeah. And
I remember when I first started with my therapist, she was like, let's not look at our phone for the first 2 hours of the day. And then let's write in a journal and then let's go on a walk. And I'm like, and I tried and I like couldn't even do like part of any of it because I was like, this is so insane. Like I can't. And I quit pretty quickly. I did. It was very fast. I don't even think I bought the journal because
So was it, and to talk about that a little bit, was that because everything was just so overwhelming to try and do all of that, including your daily tasks?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. To me, it was just like a lot of changes, a lot of like differences that it's so weird to think like, oh my God, it hurts not to look at my phone, but holy crap, like it totally does, especially because most of my phone usage is for work, not really like for fun. I get anxious not looking at it because I'm like, oh my God, what if there's an emergency? What if there's, someone that like Torben messaged me on the side with the last guest and was like, dude, are you bored? I was like, no, there was an emergency with a content creator. Like I had to fix it. And like, there's this looming like, oh my God, what if I miss something? Almost like a FOMO, but like not like, oh, I'm missing out on my friends partying, but like FOMO of like, what if I miss something? I'm not a doctor, nothing's life or death, but somehow it still feels like it.
So are there any basics that you would recommend people can do, like maybe de-stressors or things that they can do in their in-home that would allow them to kind of mitigate some of the anxieties or just stresses that they're feeling while we're going through these crazy times?
Absolutely. So typically with anxiety, the most effective treatment that actually people can do on their own, we do it as clinicians, but people can actually do this on their own. It's called cognitive behavioral therapy. And this is the most effective treatment, actually, most therapeutic for depression and anxiety. Coupled with medications, it is definitely the most effective. So CBT looks at your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, and how oftentimes we have an automatic thought, almost subconscious thought that comes in that causes us to feel anxious and causes us to behave in a certain way, whether it's isolating, whether it's irritability, whether it's worry, whatever the case is so that is something that can be done on your own. And it's more about challenging some of those thoughts, because oftentimes people who struggle with anxiety often struggle with irrational thoughts, right? Their thinking either goes to the extreme or worst case scenario. And I'm speaking in general terms. So so a lot of times that's kind of what we'll see, where there's no gray area. And we live in a world with a lot of gray area. And so when we kind of think like either super negative or super positive, neither of those are realistic. We want to find something in the middle. So CBT, there's a lot of workbooks out there that can actually help, and you can do these on your own. And that's just challenging some of these thoughts. Other things are like mindfulness skills, which is yoga, which is meditation. A lot of the Eastern medicines have kind of been brought over, and that's the mindfulness things have been brought here to Western medicine and have been proven to be helpful. So yoga, meditation, sound baths, things like that can also be very helpful, as well as painting connecting with social support. Social support is huge, particularly during COVID right now, because we are physically isolated from a lot of people, particularly the people that we would probably be most close to. So staying in contact with people, whether it's, via FaceTime or Zoom, or, if you do maybe trust those people, that there can be some like social distancing activity or something like that. But your social support network is also huge in being able to reduce the symptoms of anxiety.
So it's interesting because I recently had a friend who did this social distancing thing where they all drove to a parking lot and sat with their hood or their trunks down so they could all have coffee and talk. And so that was their way of having that social interaction necessary and to fuel that, because we are social creatures, and believe it or not, a lot of people need social interaction, even if you're an introvert.
Yeah, and it's something interesting that I'm seeing right now is I have quite a few clients who would describe themselves as introverts, but have kind of more recently been like, I'm craving social interaction. Like, I never thought that I would say that, but it's different when I don't have a choice. I have the choice to be isolative, and right now I don't have a choice. I have to. So it's difficult.
Yeah.
So I'm curious from your standpoint. Obviously we're talking about you helping other people and helping them in their mental health, but how do you personally help yourself? Because you are, for a living, helping other people in isolation while also in isolation. So like, what do you do so you're not like taking on other people and like their I don't want to say their problems, but like how do you manage? Like, what do you do?
So a lot of the skills that I actually kind of recommend to other people are things that I use myself. So exercise is a big one for me. So exercising, talking with my family. My family's back east, so being able to talk with them and kind of being able to have a relationship, even though I can't fly out there to see them. I also am a big fan of meditation personally. So to me, that's really helpful. And also journaling. So you mentioned journaling earlier. That's kind of a more, that's a skill that I have people kind of love or hate. But I find it to be very helpful just to even reflect on my day, to be like, how did I show up today for myself? But it is difficult. We're all kind of, we're all in this together. And I think in some sense that can be, it normalizes it, right? Is like, I know all the same information that my clients do regarding COVID. And really it's just about being kind of a soundboard for them. And, I obviously, take in a lot of that. So it's also important for me to take care of myself.
That's awesome. And you're totally the journaling type without actually having known that. I feel like that's very you. Whereas myself, on the other hand, I remember I had this like journal, and it even was so easy. It wasn't even blank. They had prompts for you to assist in what to write. And I still couldn't figure out what to write because I'm so not that.
Yeah. There are skills that are going to work for some people, not work for everybody. That's why we give people a bunch of different tools and to put in their toolbox, and they can kind of use what works for them.
Definitely.
You said
Torben,
something
you made a face.
earlier. Yeah, I'm still kind of trying to understand what it is you said. I don't know if I heard it correctly. Was it, you said sound bath?
Oh, a sound bath. Yes.
What is that? Because I'm still trying to just like, how can you have a sound bath?
You heard everything, and that's what you got from it. You got sound bath from all of that.
I'm just like, okay, she said all this cool stuff, but what the heck is sound bath? Because I can't wrap my mind around that for some reason.
So via Zoom, right? A lot of places are doing like yoga via Zoom, and sound baths are the same thing. So there are these like, they're kind of like instruments with like maybe like a wooden thing, and they go like this and they make sounds. Maybe there's a little harp and chimes and things like that. And it's kind of a meditative relaxation practice. Yeah.
I've never heard of this. It sounds similar to ASMR is what
I definitely recommend trying it at least once, just so you have that experience. I think it's really relaxing. Some people have a hard time with it, especially if you're really, really anxious going into it. It can be a little more difficult, but it's really relaxing. And I recommend everyone trying it at least once.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's what threw me. I was like, all right, all this cool information. What the heck is this? Like, brain's kind of breaking over here. Don't mind me.
They're really common actually. I worked in a treatment center last year, and that was actually one of the groups was a sound bath. A lady who was contracted would come in and actually do a sound bath for the clients. And I got to sit in one time, and I was like, this is awesome.
That's so cool. Because when I think sound bath, I think of like some sort of like sensory deprivation tank and like actual bath, like water bath. But this is not a wet activity. This makes sense.
No, this is dry on land.
It's a little disappointing. I feel like you could combine the two. Could we do a pool sound bath?
I don't
see why not. It's not the most quiet space, but yeah, sure, why not?
I think
Torben, I think we need to make something like this happen.
I think Amanda's
Kristina,
just
the
trying
next
to
time
figure
at your
something
pool,
out.
we're gonna sound bath in your backyard.
I don't live there though, so how am I gonna?
Torben, this isn't about you.
You just said my name and said,
I
"Hey,
said your name," and then I got distracted by the actual
like
reality.
Squirrel?
Yeah. Do you have a pool, Torben? Can you
I have a
the sound bath?
small kiddie pool in my backyard, but it's not big enough for me, and it's for the child. So no, not even slightly. Just no.
Perfect.
Like yeah. I will say that there's a sauna I'm looking at that has Bluetooth speakers, so that might be something similar. But
okay, I like it. I do have a question, just kind of thinking a little bit more, like you're talking about putting your phone down for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and kind of continuing with that. I know you're not, heavy into the gaming industry, but there are many content creators that stream live, like what we're doing now, 12, 14, 16, 24 hours at a time. What would you recommend to those types of, I mean, not to get specific, but like, how can people with that type of lifestyle really work on outside of that? Because they do that for a living. So in my head, it's not realistic. Like, let me put my computer down and my phone down for, a couple hours. But what are maybe other ways that people like that can help themselves?
So some skills that can be helpful are, taking a minute during that streaming to do some deep breathing techniques. Something like that can also be really helpful. But also if you're streaming for 24 hours, you eventually take a break, right? So what are you doing in that time that you are not streaming? How are you taking care of yourself? Are you still working? Then that's kind of where it becomes more something to focus on, is like, even if you're not streaming, are you still working constantly? As Americans, right, we are so invested in our jobs. That's kind of like how we identify ourselves. However, that is not all of who we are. And there's so much more to us than just what we do for work. So being able to invest also time in hobbies, activities, social things, anything that really is something that is exciting and feels good is just as important.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of like my creators and a lot of people in the industry kind of like suffer from that, because gaming is supposed to be fun. So, I'm doing what I do for fun, but it's also now for work. So we work all the time, and like, yeah, cool, I'll play some video games too, but there's networking, there's, talking about business, there's sales, there's, whatever's involved. It's no longer just like fun and work.
Well, there's a lot of people who aren't getting enjoyment out of playing games anymore because that is their job. So their outlet used to be games, and now it's no longer games because that's what they do for a job. So they, like, for me, for instance, I'll sit down and I'll want to do some type of gaming, but then I work in the gaming industry. So I really actually don't want to sit down and play games because I'm so overwhelmed with being at the computer all day long. It's like, why do I want to continue spending another 4 or 5 hours playing a game now when my job was to literally sit at the computer and work all day? So it's this weird thing that people are going through, that they're just trying to find that routine, right? And figure out where their new normal is. And that's actually something I wanted to talk about too, is that there's a lot of people right now that are trying to find their normal. And especially in this chaotic world of all this misinformation and people not having all of the right information, or feeling like they're being misled. Have you seen that create a panic in some ways, in some people, an irrational panic, because there's lack of information in a lot of senses, with some of the things that are coming out, and just misinformation clashing with each other? So I mean, that may be similar to what you talked about with anxiety, but are you seeing any other things that are what you would consider irrational with some of the things that we've been dealing with?
So some other things that I'm noticing are definitely kind of, you mentioned routine. Routine is something that has been completely messed up for just about everybody, right? There is no we walk from our bedroom to maybe our office, and for some people they even work in bed. So there's no separation of work, your relaxation. Something I'm also seeing is kind of people are struggling with motivation. Motivation is something that I'm seeing a lot of difficulty, whether it's, motivation to go exercise, motivation to even cook dinner. It's people are just feeling like the days are just blending, and it's just kind of blah, right? There's like this just like, well, now what, right? Tomorrow's going to be the same thing. The day after that's going to be the same thing. And it feels like for many people there's not a light at the end of the tunnel. And
Yeah.
that's just kind of making a lot of people feel stuck.
It's definitely felt very Twilight Zone-y for me. I remember the first like 2-3 months when like I personally socially distanced. I didn't see anyone. I didn't see you, Kristina, for 3-4 months in, to the whole thing. And it just felt like the days were all the same in like the most eerie type of way. Like not seeing a light at the end of the tunnel is so creepy. It's so creepy to say that. Like, oh, I see no end. But like when you go like weeks and weeks and weeks and everything's like identically the same, like, oh, I still can't do this, or oh, this is how that is. It's almost it's just bizarre. So I guess kind of like going along the idea of like routine, is there any like time in the day that's the best to unplug? Like whether it's like the moment you wake up, or like, right after you're eating, or in the evening, is there like a time that's like best for our like brains? I'm not that sciencey, so I don't know, but like, is that even a thing that's like, oh, best to unplug in the morning?
It just depends on the person, honestly. There might be some research out there, but it really depends on the person. I have people that like to unplug in the evening and kind of be able to reflect on their day. And then I have other people who like to do meditation or yoga in the morning to kind of set their day on the right track. So it really just depends on the person and what works for them and their kind of schedule. But I highly, definitely recommend at least having 2 to 3 things in your day that are routine, whether it's I'm going to eat lunch at 1:00 every day, or I'm going to wake up at 9 a.m., whatever it is, to have some consistency, because that is the only sense of kind of normalcy that we have right now, is like, okay, what can I do that allows myself to continue my routine that once made me feel good?
Definitely. No, that was a good question from chat, actually. What I said. It sounded like genius for me, but it wasn't. It wasn't me.
I mean, don't put yourself down. That was the genius work. That was a great flow. Like you led that in like that was just part of what you were talking about.
I got you. I wanted to claim it as my own, and then I felt a little guilty,
I mean,
a little bit of guilt fell over me.
Bernie's in chat, so it doesn't matter. It's fine.
We have our community manager here in chat who asks the best questions. And I saw that in chat, and then Torben pinged me with it, and I was trying to naturally bring it in because it just otherwise I'm like, oh, also this, oh wait, and it sounds like ridiculous. So thank you for the compliment in my flow.
It was a great flow. I'm not gonna discredit that. That was good.
Thank you.
It was great flow.
I would have fooled you all of you.
So Kristina, is there anything that you want to talk about or you want to address while you're here that we can take it as a takeaway, or just in general, like what's on your mind?
So I did kind of want to just briefly talk about what mental health is. So there's kind of a lot of confusion. Mental health is a very broad term that has been, I've noticed, particularly definitely on social media, is kind of just like this, what does it mean, right? Most people don't really know what mental health means. So I kind of just wanted to take a minute to kind of just explain what that is and really what that looks like. So mental health is emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, how we feel, and act. It also helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. So this is really important when we see people struggling with anxiety, right? How are they handling stress? How are they being able to relate to others? And it's important. Your mental health is important at every stage of your life: childhood, adolescence, adulthood, all the way to old age. Super, super, super important. It actually has been linked to, better well-being as you get older. So you feel kind of better about the aging process. And also, there's less physical problems that come when your mental health is taken care of. So mental health has been, you have poor mental health, it's been linked to cardiovascular problems, increase in blood pressure, all of these things that really kind of impact even physical health. And then it's also kind of helps with the ability to adapt to change and cope with challenges, which is something that we're doing now. So all of these things this is what kind of defines mental health. So it's kind of it is a broad term, but it really is about emotional, psychological, and social well-being, how we feel about ourselves, how we feel about, the world, and how we show up for ourselves and show up for other people.
Okay.
I was so excited when I saw you pull out your notebook. I'm like, hell yeah, girl. Yes. You bring in that textbook definition. I love it. I love it. And I love, obviously, like, honestly, how like prepared you were. Like, do I need talking points? Do I need this? And it's like, I love it. Like, there are obviously like in your career going to be more scholarly panels and, podcasts that you're on that will require like a full set of talking points. But for us, we like to just have it be an open forum because it's serious. But, the idea of it is to not be like serious and scary, but like a little lighthearted and fun and just like a conversation. Because it is a talk show. So we make it less formatted and more open. But at the same time, our main premise is to be educational. So we want to bring education, but have it really be relatable. We're not talking about like, bipolar, schizophrenic, like top of the line, like what we think of as like really heavy duty mental issues, but we're just talking about like, hey, we're all fucking stuck inside, man. Like, how do we deal with this? Like, all of us are. How are we like not losing our minds? So I appreciate you coming very prepared. I wanted to see if our brilliant
self-care.
Yeah.
Like self-care.
Seriously, man. I'm kind of curious if chat has any other questions. There's some really good questions coming out right now.
Apparently Timbot's having a mental health struggle right now because the bot is taking over his responsibilities.
I know, he's really upset. Also,
I don't know how to help you with that,
also,
dude.
Kristina, Timbot is our chat robot, aka Tim, my boyfriend, and he's at work right now and is in chat helping us because he's awesome. Even when we broke up for that little bit of time, he still came through on the chat. So appreciate him very much.
And Timbot is best bot. Like, we've named bots on our server after him. Our stream bot is Timbot. Like, he's so shout out to our mods just in general because you guys are phenomenal. Tim is on the spot. Just, I don't know how he does this, but he's like a wizard searching on Google because he'll immediately just have something up. Like right after we say it, he'll be like, oh, what's that? Oh, here's the link to it. How the heck did you do? I don't even know.
He's at work.
While he
works at SpaceX and he does this at
He's a
work,
spaceman.
so.
He's a spaceman. He's Timbot.
He's technically not a spaceman, but I'll
he's a
allow that
spaceman.
terminology.
No, he's spaceman. Yeah. Anyways, it's wonderful having you on the show. We really appreciate your insights and support, and helping us normalize mental health. It is very important, and everyone needs to understand that it is okay not to be okay. It is okay to have, all these feelings and things that are going on because there is support out there for you. If you do want to find some support structures, we just type ! resources in chat, and all the resources available that we've been talking about over this past month will be right there. We're going to continue to keep that as an active live thing in our chat moving forward because mental health is something that we deeply care about, and we understand that it's important for everyone to be able to get the resources necessary. There are free resources out there that you can get if you don't have money. There's also people you can talk to and lean on as support structures, and I would highly recommend having a support structure, as it's very important to have people around you that understand and can help support you through many different things. So in closing, Kristina, is there any final thoughts that you have, or Amanda, anything that you want to end with?
Just piggyback kind of on what you said is that there are tons of resources out there. A lot of clinicians are offering reduced fee telehealth sessions. There's websites where you can get $30 sessions, and there's also free resources. So there are tons of resources, especially now, millennials and younger. Mental health is so important, and it's kind of been this big push, especially more recently. So there are so many resources. I recommend everybody, we can all benefit from therapy. Everybody. It doesn't matter how stable you think you are. Everybody can benefit from therapy. So I definitely recommend everyone, if you're interested, looking at some of those resources and, seeing if there's a therapist that's a good fit for you.
Yeah,
definitely. And I'd like to just add, obviously we have all these resources. Kristina, any resources you think would be really helpful, please text them over to me or email it to us, and we'll definitely add this to our resource link. I don't think you're on Twitch, so you can't see what we linked, but we have a suicide hotline, self-harm hotline, depression hotline, and several links to websites that are super helpful. So anything in addition to that, we'd love to add. And obviously, thank you so much for being on. Thank you to our sponsors, Blue Mic. Even though I don't know how to use audio equipment, I seem to make it work once a week, every week for an hour and a half. So thank you guys, and huge shout out to Shot Call.
awesome. Thanks so much, guys.
Please take it away, because it smells like dog pee in here, and I need to figure out where it's coming from.
Wow.
Have you seen the weird look on my face this entire time?
What is happening? Like, what?
Have you
no,
seen it?
Just
I keep
stop.
smelling it, and I need to investigate, guys.
Just stop. Okay, we're done. We're done. We're out. We're turning the stream off. Not
You're
doing this
saying it.
anymore.
You're saying it so that I say something weird and it's still live, and I don't trust until it's off.
Are you sure? Are you sure
Yep.
that's what I'm doing?
I see it. It says it's live. I don't believe you.
All right, guys, have a good one. We're out.
Thank you.